then I get called into Coach Iggy's office and tells me I'm going to Portland. I'm like, all right, like, let's do it, I guess. I mean, like, let's go. And I was going up with Sandlin at the time, which was nice to have somebody to make that 11-hour ride to Somerset for the road series pretty nice. Um, so having him for that whole trip was nice, and then obviously showing up there and Drew Earhart being there because I had him as my bullpen catcher all in Greenville for most of the time was really nice as well. Um, but I mean, honestly, the biggest adjustment was I just hadn't really been in like spring training groups with those double A guys. Um, and I mean, I I just didn't know too many of the guys on the team. So that was definitely the biggest adjustment. And then after that, I mean, it's the same game of baseball. The hitters might have a better approach or a hitter might have a little bit more power or something like that, but I'm still throwing my game, like I'm sticking to my strengths. So it doesn't really affect me who's in the box.
So, looking at your Sox prospects profile, just for your arsenal of pitches, they have it listed: fastball, cutter, curveball, changeup. Is that correct?
So I throw fastball, changeup, curveball, and then a sweeper. And like the cutter is kind of like it's like in between a cutter and a gyro slider. So it's not hard enough to be a cutter yet. So it's more of a gyro slider, I would say.
Now they list your changeup as your best secondary pitch. Did you have you thrown that your changeup for a while, and what makes it such an effective pitch?
Yeah, so my changeup I actually picked up during spring training. I had a changeup at UVA that was pretty solid, but it was only really good because of like I was still able to keep the same arm speed as my fastball. But metrically it was honestly kind of like a mess. So when I showed up to spring training, like they were like, "All right, let's fix your changeup," and I was like, "Okay." Like I thought that was one of my better pitches here. Like, are we sure that we want to work on that? And I mean, I was hammering it like every single bullpen that I had in spring training. I was throwing it, and then as soon as I would get into a live outing, it'd be like, "All right, you need to throw your changeup a lot so we can get a sample size and then figure out if we need to make a grip adjustment or something like that." Um, but I mean, after I got the hang of it about like a month into the season, I would say it definitely turned into my best pitch for sure.
And I feel like you mentioned that you throw a sweeper now. I feel like every single guy we talk to in the organization is throwing a sweeper. And I
100%.
know that I feel like the organization probably has a little bit of emphasis on like, hey, we would love all of our pitchers to have this in their tool belt. So I'm assuming that's a newer pitch for you. How has that been, I guess, adapting the sweeper?
Yeah, so I didn't start throwing the sweeper until I started throwing bullpens with it at the very end of the time that I was in Greenville. And then I kept working on it in Portland, and it definitely made a lot of progress. At first, I couldn't get the shape at all. It was either like a curveball or a gyro slider. Like I just couldn't find anything in between. Um, and then I just kept changing grips, and started to get the numbers in bullpens, but it wasn't anywhere near the zone. So I was like, all right. They're like, take it out into the game every once in a while. And then I would only have like two lefties in the lineup because they only wanted me to try and throw it to lefties, um, because that's what they want me to use it for. Um, so I was starting to throw it, and the shape would be good, and it wouldn't be a good result. Like it would be way out of the zone, or I hit somebody with it, and then I would throw a bad one, and it would be in the middle of the zone. So it was very hard to, I guess, on the mound, like be able to tell which one was actually good. Um, so that's kind of like my main focus this off season, and I've been working a lot on it in catch play with Isaac Coffey. He's been trying to help me with minor grip changes or moving the ball up or down, feeling pressure certain places. So that's been a fun time during this off season.